Good Monday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV. Come on, Scout, let's go. Over here. Welcome to the Ice Age YouTube channel that talks about internal combustion engine age cars and trucks and SUVs and my dogs and all the challenges of life. Good morning there. Thanks for tuning in my channel. Hope everybody had a blessed and fun weekend. I had a nice weekend. And wow, just hard to believe it's Monday. A week from now is Memorial Day. May is past us. Wow, the switch of the season is here. From the winter to the spring to the summer is upon us. It's the switch of times, right? For me, I'm wearing short sleeve shirts and been wearing shorts, all that good stuff. Wow, weekend power wash in the backside of my house. That was a project. Then I spent time cleaning my wife's car. Jesus Christ, what a project. I mean, anymore cleaning these cars, I mean, it's just too much work. I mean, it's so much work to hand wash a car, hand clean. I say wash, like the Jersey accent. You from Jersey? Yeah, I lived in Jersey 3 times. Get over here. No, Ginger, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. Get in here. Oh, yeah, you're getting coffee all over me. There's the race truck. There's the gator. Get in here. Everybody get in here. Get in here. Come on. Come on. Forget it. Get in. It's time to go to the bar. Hey, Will. You. Come on, let's go. Will. Yeah, you. Getting up in the barn. Yeah, so there's the gator. Worked out of that over the weekend. And here's the race truck. Took that to the car show yesterday. Good car show. Had a really good conversation with the Twisted individual. What's it? Twisted Voltage? I can't. Just too much information. All the bikes are covered up. Should have taken the Hellcat Charger, but I'd rather take the frickin' race truck. That race truck is so much fun. I mean, it really is. And gave the daughter a little run yesterday, coming back in, and wow, that Scat Pack 392 smoked that thing. Ain't nothing there. Which I know that. Gotta get in my office here. And then I saw a gentleman that follows my channel, has a beautiful red eye. Hey, you got Tango. Challenger with the Octane red eye, black stripes. Beautiful car. He came over and hung out with me. We talked and all. And he was funny. He was saying I was down there in Tennessee and I did my conversations in the morning. He was getting dizzy because I was walking around in circles about that. I thought to myself, maybe watching this, I get it. Oh, it's the worst to watch some videos. And you get seasick. You get like car sick. So I can totally get what he's saying. Got to get my phone here. So this is the better setup, obviously. Oh my gosh. Wow. So the car show. Really interesting car show. Because I met a guy that does conversions. Yeah, it's Twisted Voltage. And actually, that name kind of triggered the twitch to the switch. I guess you could say. And so anyways, tell you what, I got coffee all over my freaking arm because of my dogs. And he doesn't know these stories. Right, dog. So, the car show yesterday, really good meet. Ran into some people I haven't seen in years. It's just incredible how, if you've ever been out and about, and you see somebody, and you're like, I know that person. And a gentleman there, a nice 62 Chevy Impala that he's trying to sell for his friend. If you watch the video, you'll see the 502 setup, tubbed out. Chevy lowered drag car, basically, and we started talking, and I was like, I know you, and he's like, yeah, I know you too, and he actually knew my name, and then he's like, I'm so, it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that guy in 15 years, and he doesn't look much different. Pretty incredible, you know. So anyways, I walked around and did some great video on the Volkswagen Bug, which I met this really nice guy that's local here, and apparently he does these conversions. He switches over the gas to the ICE to the EV. And I talked about that a few years ago, about wanting to do the do a video of showing you taking a retro car and taking it from ICE to EV, just for the people out there that are interested in knowing how to do that. And this gentleman here is doing this. So what's really interesting here is this local person. He actually, his main business, he's a mechanic, and he's probably within reason of my age, maybe a little, I'd say he's maybe 5 years younger or so. If you watch my channel, you'd be like, hey man, I'm not that old. So I don't know. But anyways, we're on the same page in life, but his real business, and you could be watching my channel because I showed him, who I am. And he's interested in me videoing him doing his ICE to EV conversions. But his real calling is he's a Chevy guy. He converts a lot of cars with the LS1 motors, So his real calling is he has a real shop that he displaces whatever other manufacturer, typically Ford, with a Chevy motor. But actually, his growing trend is converting these, like the Volkswagen Bug. If you watch my YouTube video from yesterday, you're going to see a 1962 Volkswagen Bug that he, for a friend of his, or a person, I should say, locally here, has paid him to take out the air-cooled 32 horsepower Volkswagen gasoline engine and put it back in a whole electrical motor and Tesla battery components, where it's about a 28 to 30K kilowatt battery. It has four like battery packs, basically. He calls it components, where he takes a battery tray from Tesla and guts it all out, and he takes all the independent cells, or components as they call it, and then the Volkswagen Bug, he puts like 2 of the components up front for weight stability, and then he put 2 of them in the back of the car. Then he puts this electric motor, generator, whatever you want to call, and he wires it all up, and it's pretty cool. It's a manual transmission, and you can actually turn on through the electric motor forward and reverse capability. So it's a clutch electric Volkswagen. So it's really cool. And he's really excited about it. But he's not, and that's what you see. Watch that video. He's on the switch mode. He's switching over his business model of years and years of doing ICE conversions to now doing EV versions. But and we talked about the video. It's a pretty long video, really. I'm sure some people kind of got bored with it because it's just so long. But because we started talking, but he'll be the first to raise his hand and say, I'm not on the green agenda addiction of doing this stuff. He's on the excitement of modifying cars, and it's about the adventure of using different technology for a car to go down the road. But as far as the green agenda, save the world, the government telling you what to do, he's like, that's not what it's about. I'm out. I don't want anything to do with that. He's like, I just like the idea of I can take a car and retrofit it into different power, and it's really cool learning that curve. And that's the whole thing I talk about on our YouTube channel so many times. There's so many people are against the EV technology and EV age, and I get all that because you're then, you're toe healing to the government policies and the green agenda policies. I get all that, but at the same time, it's happening, and it's just your better interest yourself to learn the technology because it's going to continue to prevail. And that's why I bought electric vehicles, because I really wanted to learn to talk. I wanted to learn more about the infrastructure and just understand more of what's going on as we switch from the ICE age to EV age. I mean, that's truly what's happening more than ever. I mean, it's a switch of times. I mean, more than ever, even to the point that they're talking now, Hyundai. I mean, I can so remember the Hyundai, the Kia product back when I got out of high school, late, I should say, really, I would say like mid-'80s, maybe early 80s. And those products were coming to our country, and they were just junk. And into the 90s. But here's the thing. Hyundai today is actually now gaining momentum of being one of the top electrified vehicles. The technology, reliability, the price point, the range. So Hyundai is really starting to be looked at as that's the go-to company more than ever for the electric vehicle, for the package. So it's a whole switch in the perception of Hyundai, even though the Ice Age Hyundais definitely here in the last 10 plus years have gained a lot of traction, or, much nicer vehicles. So they've overcome those hurdles of the initial days of people just looking at them as a price car and beater car borderline. I've had them, still have one out sitting out in my yard. It's going to just go to the ground. The wife won't get rid of it. Hyundai Santa Fe. And so the switch for Hyundai, it's huge. For Hyundai right now, their technology of switching from ICE to the electric vehicle age is actually benefiting them by leaps and bounds, because they're becoming more recognized and they're being put on the pedestal of being, just a really phenomenal product. And I've seen people own these things and I've heard the stories. And, what's really interesting more than ever is it's all about the range. You think about this. So for us ICE people, our main focus point has always been the power, the horsepower. Nobody really per se was always fixated on the miles per gallon. I mean, so most people that are the muscle heads, the motor heads, they grew up in the era of you're looking for the power. You want to buy a car that has a lot of power on it. You weren't so attached to the 500 horsepower Corvette got 20 miles per gallon instead of getting 40 miles per gallon. Or if you bought the Hellcat Challenger modern day, I don't think the person's going to walk away if it gets under 18 miles per gallon because they get 700 plus horsepower. But what's interesting is on the switch to EV, the focus is the range. So the focal point for the Ice Age was horsepower. And within reason, too, you couldn't, we know that you're not going to go buy a 1,000 horsepower car that gets 5 miles per gallon. But in general, for the automotive manufacturers, we were always looking for more power. And I don't think a lot of people were focused on this incredible fuel mileage because they would sacrifice the power for the fuel mileage. I mean, look at the Ram TRX. That's one of the biggest things that's borderline held me back from buying one, even though it kind of came to closure buying one, but it just didn't play out. But the biggest factor has been because of the fuel mileage. And just like the Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT Hellcat, I just bought one of those years ago, but it was just always about the fuel economy because it's just so bad. Even the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, I held out on that vehicle because I didn't want the 12, 13, 14 mile per gallon fuel economy. And my Grand Wagoneer, this is incredible. I drove that car back from Tennessee a week ago Monday, which that's like a 400 mile, it's like a 385 mile trip one way. I've driven around that car now a few times, and I still have a quarter tank of gasoline. That thing got close to 20 miles per gallon coming back home. So I think it's just so great on fuel economy. But here's the point. More than ever, the focal point on electric cars isn't so much the power as much as the range. So what's the most dominant thing? To the point Chevrolet has just announced their new all-electric truck, their supposedly work truck, that's going to supposedly be the F-150 Lightning beater, better package value-wise, is supposed to be a 420-mile range vehicle, which is wow. You're talking about Ford with a 330-mile range vehicle with a 131 kilowatt battery. That's the extended range truck, and that's basically up into the $70,000, $80,000 package. Typically, I would say, I could be wrong with that, but it's more expensive. So Chevrolet is pulling the switch that they want you to switch from Ford or Rivian or whatever other manufacturer out there, but there's not many out there, or Ram when they bring their product. They want you to switch over to Chevrolet because their presentation now is you can go 420 miles and you can get the better value vehicle. But, and then when I first started reading this article, I was like, wow, that's a game changer. That's a switch big time for the Ford Lightning values. I mean, if you're telling me a person go buy a Chevrolet truck, the work truck, that's not big dollars, and it goes 420 miles, and my Lightning is basically 110 miles less. I should say, what would you say, 100, let's say 90 miles, is that right? I'll have to take my calculator. 420 plus 330 minus, so 90. So it's 90 miles less range. And stop it. So, but then let's read the article into more depth. No, Chevrolet is totally, here's what's incredible. Gentleman that I met yesterday, he just texted me this morning on that Volkswagen Bug. Yeah, I wonder what he has to say. So, but here, once I read more in depth into that article of Chevrolet bragging about it has a longer range truck, is you have to get a 212 kilowatt battery for the truck. So that's a massive battery. So there's no way you're going to convince me that once you go to the Chevy dealership and you want to switch out of your Ford Lightning to get the Chevy truck that goes 90 more miles, and we even know when it comes to real world testing, it's going to be 70 miles, 60 miles, whatever it may be. But I guarantee it's going to be, oh, this is the price. And I would be willing to venture that it's going to be more expensive than the F-150 Lightning. Than just because it's a 212 kilowatt battery pack. It's the battery, and it's going to be a massive amount of weight. It's the Hummer battery, I would guess. So for Chevrolet to get people to start switching, yeah, it's always about the advertising. But once you kind of dig deeper, hasn't been on, it's the switch. It's the takeaway. Who hasn't been to go buy a car, goes to a dealership, and it's the worst. They advertise all this pricing, but you don't find the real fine print that, if you qualify for your military, college, senior citizen, you give up your kid for the car. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. When you get a dealership, those huge rebates only apply to select individuals that have credentials to get those. Who hasn't been through this? The takeaway, the switch, or who hasn't been to the dealership but you went there for a specific vehicle that they advertise, and then, just by accident, it just disappeared when you got there. Who hasn't had that happen? Just to lure you in the door to get you to maybe buy something else when they don't really have a vehicle. Who hasn't? I've had people even comment on my YouTube channel, hey, you can go buy this vehicle, so-called rare vehicle that you just bought, and I see them out in the marketplace, and you can get them for MSRP. Yeah, then you call the dealership, and the conversation comes into, well, you want to come down and check it out? Well, do you have it? Yeah. Well, what's the price? Well, why don't you come down and check it out? What's the price? The takeaway, the switch. Eventually, well, we're getting 50K over. Click, right? So anyways, we're in the age of switch more than ever. We're switching over to, here's another thing, the autonomous driving. That's a whole other switch variable that's playing out with this artificial intelligence, this generative pre-trained transport, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Sam Altman, Elon Musk. I mean, there's so many companies out there right now that are just working around the clock trying to get this autonomous driving to be official. And what's interesting is, in our country, the talk right now is the autonomous vehicles will have accomplished their job when they can drive an environment with lousy drivers. That's your challenge driving on the road, is people's imperfections driving a car. So autonomous vehicle driving, to switch on the autonomous vehicle in your car to let you do nothing, the challenge is the drivers around you. And they're saying, until the autonomous technology can overcome so many different variables of the others that are among you, to overcome that is very challenging. And even to the point over in Europe, apparently these companies, they require you to go through certain steps and procedures in Europe to so-called qualify the vehicle to have its own driver's license. So here's the thing. You're in the future, you're going to have to get a driver's license for your car. Yeah, that's where it's going to eventually go. The governing bodies of Europe are already kind of going that way. Here in this country, the government's position right now, for the most part, has been just let the manufacturers try to figure this stuff out before we start putting all these guidelines in. But there's already speculation that eventually your car will require a driver's license one day to enable it to drive itself down the road. But there's also, as we know, many challenges of that. But these select few companies that are working around the clock to get this technology to prevail eventually, they claim that behind the scenes, they are spending millions and millions of miles. I should say they are testing millions and millions of miles of this artificial intelligence with all the different variables just round the clock. That not only do they put vehicles on the roads that are driving millions of miles, but they claim that behind the scenes of these simulator basically modules and technology that they have in-house, they're doing, millions upon millions upon millions of miles of driver simulation with this artificial intelligence. So that's coming. I mean, I think even myself, I think to myself, nah, but there's just too much money being put into it between General Motors and look at Tesla, look at Alphabet, the Google company, look at there's another company called OpenAI or something. So there's right now 3 or 4 companies that are trying to make the switch of us humans driving cars to the cars driving the humans. I mean, that's where it's all going. Humans driving cars to cars driving humans, right? I mean, that's the goal. So for us, the switch, and who can pull the switch? I mean, sincerely, who here, and even though I have a friend of mine that goes to the car show that just explained to me here a few weekends ago that his Tesla drives him to work on a regular basis. So that technology is already among us. I think even for myself, I'm not even that aware that a lot of these Tesla vehicles are actually out there driving people. I mean, from point A to point B. I mean, no lie. I just I thought that Tesla in some ways was being shut down from their autonomous driving from some incidents they had, some software problems. But I'm just not that caught up in the Tesla forums or Tesla conversations, so I just don't know all this. But yeah, apparently Tesla's already way ahead of most other companies, which is just like, wow. So, and once again, who would switch to that? I mean, honestly, this morning, but that's another thing they're talking about too, is they're saying by 2027 that a majority of the car manufacturers are going to have autonomous driving in these vehicles, which that means that's just 4 years. I mean, technically, that's just 3 model years away. As far as 3 years, I don't believe that. That's hard for me to believe. Maybe the statement is that the switch to autonomous driving will be in all manufacturers' lineup of select vehicles, but like every vehicle, I can't see that. Wow. And so then, yeah, I mean, is anybody here? I mean, sincerely, I think even for myself, I just think, nah, no, the switch happening as fast as I guess I could say believe. I mean, there's just so many parts of me that think that it just isn't going to happen as fast as these journalists and these articles you read about all this. The switch from ICE to EV, the switch from a person driving a car to the car driving the person. I mean, even for me, I'm just like, I think we're more like 5 to 10 years. I think we're 5 years away from any more momentum in the EV market of kind of getting traction here. I think we're 10 years away from real autonomous driving being the norm in the market by any means, if even at that. I don't even know. I mean, it's just so kind of hard to grasp because just as an individual that lives on the roads every day of my life and sees all the variables that play out and just the car technology. But at the same time, I've talked about it before, when you look at the Industrial Revolution of how things progressed and how many years it took for change to happen versus today in the era of technology never seen before and this artificial intelligence that is on our doorstep. Maybe us individuals such as me just aren't that smart and just are oblivious that this technology is just going to explode, and a switch is going to be like a light switch where you turn it on and turn it off. It's going to be that dramatic and that fast. Okay, enough about cars, right? Now let's talk about the switch of times. I mean, well, here for me in my area, the Washington Commanders have switched ownership, thank God. Dan Snyder is finally out of the Washington former Redskins organization who ran it into the ground, totally destroyed it. At one time, the Washington Redskins, you had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year waiting lists to get season tickets. That's all. That got destroyed by Dan Snyder. And then the record of the organization of winning games got destroyed by Dan Snyder. So Dan Snyder totally ruined the organization. Then he caved. Yeah, I guess you could say he caved to taking the Washington Redskins, being it was in so many ways, not something that was said very well. I mean, just wow. Washington Redskins. So they had a chance to the Washington Commanders. Now, the new owners, one of them is, trying to think his name, the great basketball player, Magic Johnson. He's one of the partners in the new ownership. And are they going to change the name? Will they change the name of the Washington Commanders? So there's a whole other variable. And then they're supposed to get a brand new stadium. So it's changed. So the switch has happened here in my area, which, anymore. I think a lot of people my age have kind of seen such a switch in sports. There's just a whole, it's not harder today to get as caught up in watching, I believe, professional sports because it's become too political. So I just think there's a lot of people out there that would probably agree that the switch of sports is I've switched it off. I don't switch it on anymore. I mean, I have. I mean, I've pretty much. I mean, sure, I like football still, and I watch football, but I don't like get married to it like I used to. I used to watch professional basketball. I don't watch that anymore. In baseball, yeah, I mean, I've never been a big baseball fan, but I kind of like to watch it here and there. But even this season, I haven't really even watched much of it. I definitely watch the end of it. But the whole point is, the whole professional, the whole sports industry has been leveraged by political agendas and other agendas. And I think it just has turned off a lot of people, where I think a lot of people have switched it off. Can you blame them? I mean, these people make so much money, and then they want to start telling you how to live your life. Wow. Right. So, and then you think the switch, as we know, that we're in the switch of the green agenda, never seen. I mean, I think, does anybody really step back and say to themselves that when we had a switch of powers in governing powers of our country that started in basically January of 2021, but for the most part, we've had a major switch of the powers to be in our country, and the switch has been more than ever on the green agenda. And the switch has been more than ever the ESG, economic, social, and governance, more than ever. So we have seen in such a short period of time, to me, a lot of switch, and which I think has, once again, a lot of people have been turned off by the switch. But yet the media machine continues to ramp up that the switch has been, in some ways, a good switch. In some ways, the media machine has also called out the switch, but it's just interesting. I wonder how many people are going to switch their positions on the governing bodies of our country. I mean, you just have to wonder, is the country really going to switch back to more favoritism to the Ice Age? Is the country going to switch back more, favoritism towards slowing down the green agendas and money's being spent, basically the new Green Deal? Are people going to switch from not making the switch? I mean, so here's the thing. Is this country really going to make the switch into really going to electric vehicles? Even though there's, tax incentives, the pricing on the cars are coming down somewhat. Fuel prices aren't really that radically expensive, so there isn't really, like there was just a year ago, of the $5-6 gasoline and diesel. So that's has switched. We're back to some parts of the country in the high $2 range to the $3 range for fuel, and diesel fuel's back in the $3 range. So is there really going to be a switch to the EV age? I mean, really, is there really going to be that many people in the next 5 years, like I just mentioned, where the stronghold of the manufacturers have switched to a lot more EV vehicles, that the general population of our country starts to switch over to electric vehicles because the charging infrastructure has been put in place more so than ever, and people have more confidence that they can travel and have range. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of our conversation, was the whole conversation on electric vehicles isn't necessarily horsepower, it's range. So for us, but what's crazy, the underlying power of those cars is incredible. We were talking about that yesterday at the car show, is when will the federal government step in and shut down the 1,500 horsepower or 2,000 horsepower electric vehicle? That's going to be insane power and borderline dangerous as all get out with the wrong person in the wrong, in that vehicle, even though the vehicle to a degree will drive itself. But at the same time, wow. I mean, just incredible to think that we're talking 1,000 horsepower electric vehicles, 1,500. What's it, that Rimac I talked about last week, Rimac Navara, I think does like 0 to 60 in like 1.74 seconds. That's a rocket ship. So the switch. Yeah, then more than ever, people want to switch their gender. More than ever, we're witnessing, more than ever, people want to switch their gender. Want to switch their identity. Here's the kid, which that only means one thing. It's been too long a video now, and I got to get the heck off and get to work. So the kid has shown up, and she's ready to go to work. So it's time to go to work. So everybody, hey, thanks for watching my channel. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the nice comments. And share the video with others. And we got a busy day ahead of us because we're going to go to Tennessee this week. And I'm hoping to get out of here earlier than later. And I can switch from working every day to switch to go have some fun. So let's just see if we can pull that off. So once again, thanks again. Stay safe. God bless. Stay tuned. Have a great day.